This is Rameshwaram, a plant lover and a hard-working farmer of Tamil Nadu. His son works as a contractor in a faraway city. Everyone suggested him to take rest, as he's old and it's a useless job what he's doing. No matter what people said, Rameshwaram did not seem to mind, and he continued growing his plants dedicatedly. Be it freezing winter or the melting summer, he grew a variety of fields and harvested them. Autumn comes, and then comes spring. His farms were a great shelter for bees. Even the thundering rain couldn't stop us from his passion. He soon had a farm full of sparkling bright flowers. One day, his son Krishna comes to him and says in disappointment, Appa, why do you have to work so hard at this age planting these silly saplings? Don't we earn more than sufficient from my job? Rameshwaram smiled slightly and said, like the villagers, you really think I do this for money? Son, you'll understand this when you grow up. How much more do I have to grow up to understand his foolishness, Appa? Saying so, he left frustratingly. A few years later. Rapid deforestation was done all over the countries by private companies to set up the new business of industries. The power plants started being set up, creating an unmeasurable amount of harmful smoke in the air. They kept increasing in number, not one, not two, but countless. Numerous industries and power plants were established. Industries kept on increasing, and so did the pollution. The too eager to set up companies hired untrained workers who mishandled the radioactive material, irresponsibly disposing them into the nearby lake and causing the rapid decrease in the number of fishes that once played in the lake. The town, which was once known for its liveliness, has now witnessed turning into a sad, lonely place. There was a rapid urbanization seen all over. Huge glass buildings resting apart from the clouds were built. The area was soon labeled urban. With this came new people, new visitors to the city. The cleanest river of the town was no sooner turned into a dump yard full of chocolate wrappers or potato chip packets. With the advent of urbanizations, roads were set up. The area was now called residential. There were vehicles seen all over the streets 24/7. The vehicles emitted smoke. People polluted the area by garbage, traffic, overspeeding vehicles, sound pollution, and an endless list. Nothing decreased except the quality of the air that the people were intaking. And as evident, there was a tremendous outbreak of a deadly virus that was killing people, making headlines and breaking records of patients. It caused serious respiratory problems. People in the area soon became a victim of this deadly virus, with no exception to it. The city became out of sufficient ambulances rushing to the hospital. There were queues of people standing in front of the hospital waiting for their turn to come. Be it elderly people or the kids, the virus spared nobody. Hospitals were running out of beds, while the graveyards were running out of spaces for the corpses. This was a mere incident, but things weren't good before either. The rising temperature of the earth were feeling like it's sitting on a meteor. A usual sunny day when people came out of their houses to have a sun bath now seemed boiling hot, as if we were on a volcano top. Everyday travel had become a headache for the people. And this all started with simply increased pollution from vehicles, rising the Earth's temperature to a whole another level and resultantly causing even the icebergs of Antarctica to melt, leaving the poor penguins and polar bears out of shelter. Littering their own shelters did not satisfy the human greed, which took them next to the shelter of the poor fishes, the oceans. Nonetheless, The land had become so less that they started dumping their waste into the seas and lakes. Of course, not caring about what harm it would cause to the species living there. Our favorite picnic spot, river. They had a picnic, had a lot of fun, took our belongings and departed back to home. But oh, we actually forgot to take the garbage that we left behind. Human greed is so unsatiable, right? Things really didn't stop here. Animal poaching and killing to ensure constant supply of ivory so that you can have great ornaments at the cost of a living creature's life. Excessive uses of plastic, whose decomposition actually creates double amount of pollution than it takes to create it. Slash and burn agricultural practices on a super large scale. Aren't these many reasons enough to justify the breakout of the virus? Well, coming back to it, the situation kept worsening. There were alerts and people started evacuating their dream cities to find a safer place free from this virus. Yeah, guess where could they end up? The same old villages that they had left years back in search of a comfortable life, job, education, etc., etc. One of these people was Krishna, Rameshwaram's son. Remember him? He has now grown into a responsible dad of 2 kids. Returning back to his old village after years had made him nostalgic, because he remembered the memories of his parents flashing in front of his eyes. Just then, Krishna's children demanded to ride on a swing. Krishna turned angry and frustratingly explained to the kids, "Do you both understand what's happening here? We just saved our lives and came running here and you want to ride a..." He stopped. Gently raising his squeezed eyebrows, he said, "I know a place where you can ride a swing. Let's go there now." No sooner, Rameshwaram and the kids arrived to a huge, lovely garden of acres full of variety of huge trees. This is the place where I played as a kid with Appa. This was the ripened fruit of Rameshwaram's honest hard work over years. The fruit which his grandchildren got to taste. The kids adored the garden beyond heights. They played with the swing that they wanted to. Not only this, they rested on a canopy, sat in the tree shade and cool breeze, and played in an amazing tree house. They had the meals and they were very happy with the life they were living. Krishna always guided his kids to plant saplings like his father did. My father always said, "Even if it is your last deed on this planet, plant a tree." While saying so, he had a feeling of guilt for not being able to understand what his dad meant that day. The kids hugged him and cried, "We love you, Dad. You're the best." "Yeah, thank you, Daddy." While laughing loudly, Krishna slowed to take a moment and said, "Thanks, Appa." Happy ending, right? Well, not really. I would call it a happy ending when we actually understand what Krishna did and what Rameshwaram meant. So let me be his voice for you all. What is a plant? A tiny sized seed sowed to give you 2 shoots, 3 more shoots. It finally gets the support of a trunk, rises its arm fiercely to grow more, and watch it as it turns into a whole green bunch of leaves. But it doesn't end here. It photosynthesizes, gives fruits and shelter to the other living beings. The chapter closes, leaving behind a whole log of food for humans to innovate. And throughout this journey, it is a doer and never a receiver. Yeah, except for carbon dioxide. So, is it really so hard to conserve the environment? Well, not really. As far as you and me do our small part of contribution. A few simple do's and don'ts for you and me. Do not litter a place you go or visit. Avoid unnecessary use or wastage of electricity or be it water. Use the 3R principle: recycle, reuse, and reduce. Recycle your old newspaper and your previous year newsletter notebooks. Segregate your home waste into different colored dustbins. This takes you to the point of not wasting your food. Rather, why not give it to somebody who's more needy than you? Take an initiative, like planting a tree or cleaning a nearby beach or river or going to college by cycle. Sounds cool. Switch to eco. If possible, switch to solar energy. It can surprisingly run everything from a fan to a geyser in your house. And if you're planning to buy a car, Think of buying at least a CNG-based or electric car. Last but not least, replace the poor quality plastic bags with a cloth or a paper bag as far as possible. Also, try to avoid the one-time use plastic bottles. Carry a steel bottle of your own instead, which is way more durable. Seriously, no excuse left. And are these too hard in front of our planet? No, right? We need to do this. Or that day won't be far.